Good morning.
Hey,
Good morning.
We're live. Good morning,
Yay.
Dreama.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, everybody. This is Shannon and Dreama, Mark, and Bob from iEvolveTV. And today we're going to talk about a cool experience that my dad and Bob had when they were in college. So maybe you guys, and Dreama's already tapping in over there. I can see her. She's zoning. So I'm coming in there, Dreama.
Yeah. Yeah, for a little while there.
I want to get your piece of paper and pencil.
Yeah, I got everything ready.
Okay, good. So maybe you guys can tell us how you actually knew each other, or know each other, I should say.
Well, Robert, you want to take the stage on that one?
Yeah, sure. It initially started through our wives. They were supportive of each other in college at Central Michigan University. And Chris, my wife, invited the Smith family up to her mother's cottage on Higgins Lake during the winter.
Okay.
And we went up there, and it was on Higgins Lake. And in the evening, we got a phone call from my father-in-law. He and his wife, which is my wife's mother, which would be my mother-in-law, were coming back from a downhill skiing adventure up north, and their car broke down. So they called us, and at that time we had landlines, and Mark and I jumped in the car and went to go see what the problem was. We don't know I can't remember the details of what was wrong with the car, but the car broke down. So it's outside of Grayling. Most of the viewers here, Shannon, Michiganders, are all over the country?
All over the world, actually, but
yes. All over the world.
Yep, but
okay,
most of Michigan.
So what I want you to do, you non-Michiganders, pull up your right hand and have the palm of you facing yourself. Have the palm facing, and kind of put your finger right kind of like between your fourth and third finger, right about there. Okay. And that is where we were roughly. Okay. It's called Grayling, is the biggest city around there. And it's Higgins Lake is one of the most beautiful lakes in the face of the earth. And so Mark and I ventured off, and certainly a little bit higher north. Okay, thanks, Shannon.
Yeah, because I think you got Mount Pleasant, but
okay, yeah, okay, then maybe a little bit higher.
Anyway,
or farther up your finger. And so it was on Sharon Road, is the name of the road, which is off Military Road.
Oh,
and which is interesting. And so at that point, we were driving down the road in the middle of the dark. I think it was mid-evening, and lights kind of were off in the distance, a light to the left and light to the right. Now I was trying to, they were kind of faint at the moment, but they seemed to get larger as we were traveling towards them.
Okay.
And Mark, can you remember, was there a third light involved over the road? I was trying to figure that out, my memory. Or was it two lights?
Well, yes, there was two lights. What it is the one that's in question was bigger, obviously, than the other one, smaller. It appeared they were at different levels in our vision. Of course, we didn't know how far in distance they were, but we could tell that that sometimes they were in unison, sometimes they were not. But the smaller of the two was closer to the ground, where the other one seemed to be above ground, but probably like maybe 30 feet. But it was like a little bit high, like double the height of a house. So when you're looking, you're kind of But at a distance, you're looking up like that, and maybe like something like a bridge, and there was that light. And but the funny part about it, sometimes that I recall that the bigger the two would stay in the right quad of my vision. The other one would go back and forth like that, but vanish. Just this one. That's what I recall.
Yeah, it appeared to be dancing in the air.
Pardon me?
And at times it seemed to come towards us, and then at times it seemed to go back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There didn't seem to be any kind of systemic kind of or any kind of pattern to it. It was kind of as if you had seen you've seen fireflies before, and it certainly wasn't a firefly, but the fireflies are somewhat skitterish, and this at times was skitterish, and at other times it was really slow in its movement.
Yeah. Because
what year would you say this was?
I think it was around 1975-ish.
Wow.
Well, was my brother there?
Yes, your brother wasn't. Eric was just born. He was with the girls. And remember,
Yep.
Julie had mastitis, and so they stayed back at the house, I believe. And then
That's correct, Mark. Yeah. Yep.
So that would have been. He was born in November of '77.
December.
Okay, so it's 77 then. Okay.
And this would have been like January, so he was like a couple months old, I would say.
He was already 50 pounds.
Yeah. But I would say early 1978.
Okay.
78. Wow.
So that's the time frame for that. But also, as far as the light's concerned, the way I look at the light appeared to be a dome. See, this all took place at night, okay? And to me, it looked like a dome, and it was like a half moon like this. Like, let's say if it was a ship or something like that, this dome would be like on the bottom of that. That's what it appeared to me. But the point is it would turn like this and like that. And also it changed in intensity of the color of the light. That's what looked strange to me.
Dad,
the
didn't you
little
mention
one
something?
less recollection of it. Pardon me?
Didn't you mention something
you
about
say?
how? Didn't you mention something about how you guys went one direction to go? Were you like going to the party store or something? Where you go? I think
No, we're going on the route to meet my father-in-law because his car broke down.
That's right. So when you drove one way, the road seemed like straight or curvy, but then when you drove back the same direction, the road seemed different. Didn't you say that?
Yeah, I did say that because it seemed different to me. But you got to remember, I wasn't real familiar with that area. But I also think that for this conversation, we need to also say that the area that we were in there was absolutely no homes or cottages or hunting camps or anything. It was the way my thinking was we were going through it's not a 2-track, but it's a driven road, but it's through the country with woods right up against the roadway.
Okay.
Is that the way you remember it, Bob?
Oh yeah, I've traveled that road many times, dozens and dozens of times during the day, primarily during the summertime, and it's over some state-owned property. And there's very few residential homes there. And it's kind of like the area close to the Kirtland warbler, which is a famous bird that has been reclaimed off of the endangered species list. But mostly, I believe they're jack pines. So it's a very straight road, and it's very, it's paved. So I was very familiar with that road. As you're experiencing this, my memory was that I'm a very, very skeptical human being about a lot of things in life. And at this time, I'm trying to sort out in my mind the logical explanation of it.
Right.
And I know, spent a lot of my summers on Higgins Lake. Outside of Grayling is a National Guard training site. And so this is fairly close within miles of the National Guard training site. So as I'm experiencing this, I'm trying to think about, well, could it have been a experimental helicopter or something else?
Right.
And we're talking about the late 1970. I guess we've determined 1978. There is no possible way that time that the military could have had a experimental chopper, one that would have been quiet, that the lights, kind of like at times they seemed to pulsate, they got bigger,
Yeah.
and just the movement of it was almost, I think, impossible for a craft, a flying, that man had made could have gone that. I've tried to reclaim that moment, and no matter how much I try to analyze it and explain it, I just can't come up with that understanding of how man could have constructed something like that. So
I tried to pull up Sharon Road, but I'm getting a Howe Road. Did that name change?
I believe it's in Roscommon County, I
Oh,
believe,
okay.
or Grayling County.
Okay.
I think
during that experience, and since then, I just can't sign off on the fact that, oh yeah, it was some experimental airplane or flying
the
apparatus.
thing of it is, having been a pilot at that time, I'm talking about the thing that I find that supports what you're saying, Robert, is the fact that the craft that we saw, let's say it's a craft, the light was an aircraft of that day or this time period. Even if it was a chopper, the light would be more of a swooping type light that you would see. Okay, where this one would go from here to here like that. It was like, it was not like a swooping that we would see in aircraft today. And that's to go along, I think, with what you're saying, because, you got that combined with the intensity. That's why my thinking was we thought it was a snowmobile at first, but it was just because, they're on the side, up in the, the snow drifts and whatnot. But we know that that's not the fact, because it was a white light and we couldn't catch it. It would have been a red light if we were. But I think, having said all this, if you would take the stage on this again, Robert, and explain to when we actually got close.
As far as the car not working?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. You can go.
Does
Before
that look right? I'm sorry to interrupt. Does that look right? Does that look the right area? I can zoom in a little bit.
Sure does, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So Sharon Road would have been where the cottage was?
No, the Sharon Road was would have been oh my gosh. Let's see. Let me get my bearings right here. That's Higgins. No, it'll be farther north and west, I believe.
Because they were driving in.
Yeah, they were coming from a little bit north of it wasn't too far from 127. Just a few miles. Yeah, you're getting close to it. Yeah, keep going a little bit farther north, and then to the west, I believe there should be a Sharon Road over there, and it's almost. I do believe it's Sharon Road, Military Road,
Oh, that's right. Military Road. You did say that. That was the other road. I can't
Military
remember.
and Sharon. And it's not too far from 127. I know that.
Gotta get our bearings here. There's Higgins Lake. Okay.
What is Higgins Lake? So go farther north of that.
Wow, you guys really had to go. I'm gonna type in Military Road and see if that just doesn't take us.
Look at Fletcher Road.
Okay, Fletcher.
Fletcher
It's
Road,
kind of
yeah.
in that general area. And then Sharon is where it crosses the river. So they were on right somewhere between where Military, Sharon, and Fletcher come together is kind of where they were.
There. Oh yeah, there. Here we go.
They were by the river.
I gotta zoom out. Oh. Beaver Creek, is that the river that you're referring to?
No,
No, I think it's Boardman, is it?
might be the Boardman.
Might be the Boardman River.
Oh.
Show. I can't show.
Well, that's okay. I just kind of want to get general vicinity.
Yeah, now you're getting
the train.
pretty close right there.
It's south of 72 and east of 66 and west of 127-75 where they merge together. It's kind of in the middle of the boonies out there.
Kind of like right here.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
That's probably good. I'll just move our, oh, I can't move it. Okay.
And like I said, you know, I've traveled that stretch for 30 years.
It's about right where that red dot is, actually.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Wait.
All right. I just thought we'd try to get a little bit more of a.
And Chris tells me, my wife, and she just reminded me that both Mark and I came back to the cottage just hysterical because we were, I don't know, excited, but also somewhat overwhelmed by the experience.
Did you sleep that night?
I can't remember that. But again, I'm a very skeptical person. I don't believe a lot of crazy, weird stuff. And so this is something that I just could not, in logical terms, come to grips with it then.
Sure.
And I still, even to this moment, cannot rationalize the experience that we had. But Mark,
But wait,
I think it's really significant about what happened to the vehicle. Go ahead, Mark.
yeah, go ahead. That's the exact. We gotta tell
Well, you
them
guys,
the vehicle because that's an important part of probably our hysteria.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you give the details on that, and I'll support you.
you guys were also very young. So would you have been 23, 24?
Yeah, we were young, and yes, we had children, and yes, we were at college. But I got to tell you something: we were growing up because we were raising families, so we weren't.
Amen. Amen.
You know, we were very astute of our presence, and also taking care of our families. That
Yes.
was all it was about. But
Yes,
having
very
said that,
responsible young
what
men
happens
at the time.
my recollection is that the epic of the whole thing is we can't. All of a sudden, we saw the light, what I call the big dome light. The snow machine, if I remember, it was going. It might have been more light. That light through this travel time would either come in or go away from us on different sides of the roadway, sort of thing. So it's like we could never quite catch up to it. But a couple times, Bob would say to me too, we'd thing coming at us, and he'd, hey, now watch it. He doesn't. I don't remember exactly what you said. Maybe he doesn't see us. Okay. So anyway, we saw let's for all purposes of the craft, and we're making coming up to it at this point. All right. And what I remember, it was like this dome was it was probably the width of like a trailer on a semi. Okay. And it looked like to me like 30 feet off the ground. But anyways, then all of a sudden the car started losing power. You know, like it would stutter and stuff like this, and the lights would blink. And, you know, for God's sakes, we were listening to rock and roll, you know, so we had that blaring. and that would shut off and everything. And then finally, I don't know if Bob, you actually said it or not, Robert, you said stop. And I said, I'm not stopping. The vehicle just kind of like slid to a stop and the power went out. Just the car just dead. And if I recall, then the craft, let's say it's a craft, kind of flew over the top of us, not, kind of slowly. And of course, Robert's comment is still embedded in my heart, what he said. But we're sitting there and we're going like, we're not talking because it's like, what in the hell is going on? Type thing. Because I believe I got the same type of feeling as Robert has, that I'm a skeptic. If I can't taste it, can't feel it, smell it, and chew on it, then then I'm not really totally there yet. So what happened was, in my opinion, flew over the top of us. There was like a hum, and it was a Prince, and it went over the top of us. And then Robert said, after it seemed like 2 days, the comment that he made, but it was probably only like maybe 15 seconds. He goes, "What in fly was that?" It's not exactly the word. So like, what the hell is that? And so we sat there and I went and turned the vehicle on and it wouldn't start. It was dead. And we went, well, that's real good, but we're not really going that excited. Okay.
Did it look like that?
No.
Oh.
No, not at all. And
okay.
So,
can you see all these?
Yep. You got to remember, I didn't actually see a craft. I saw lights. See that
Yep,
one?
Yeah, Mark. It was all lights.
Yeah, see the lights in the bottom. You got to go back the other way.
Okay. Right here? I don't know if you can see my cursor or not.
Robert, would you say it's the second one? Just with one dome? Similar to that?
Yeah, I would say it's, sure.
It's just kind of like a dome shape or a, saucer shape is what I'm trying to get to. Because there's other, there's like, I think they call it like the cigar shape, and they're in the triangle.
We didn't see the craft. All we saw
Right.
was the light.
Correct.
So
right.
All we would see is like that. You know how you got two domes there in the bottom, if you can kind of see that?
Yeah.
This one had one that I recall.
And what was weird about it is before we came to this stop, and Mark needs to finish that story because I think he's right on that's the strange part about the vehicle, losing its power, is that as we were driving, we thought we could be getting closer to it because we were going pretty fast. And it appeared, it was strange in my head. I saw it was coming at us, but we still weren't getting closer to it.
Right.
At a moment in time, it seems like almost suspension of time. And I haven't been able to kind of sort that out in my head either, because I thought that was really bizarre. But go ahead, Mark. If you finish, you got it going. The car wouldn't start, and then.
Well, what happened was I tried it once or twice and everything, and we're still kind of real quiet, and we're kind of like, I think we were kind of like mind talking at that time. You just kind of like going like, what in the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, the first part I remember is the radio went on because of the music.
That's what
all of a sudden, then the lights came back on in the car, and we went like, okay. So we're now at this time we're doing this, but we're not talking, okay? Because it's just natural. So I went in there, started the car up, and it started. And holy moly! So we went down the road, and then slowly but surely we were kind of re-talking about the situation. But I guess it, like Robert says, like hysteria. But we were just kind of like, it was all in our mind. We were trying to figure out what the hell did we see. So that's my recollection.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm 100% on target with Mark, but there were just some particulars about it that I just still can't get out of my memory bank, because again, as I tried to wrestle with it, to trying to find some rationale, because I'm a rational thinking individual, I still haven't been able to be able to come to any conclusions, because the way this light moved in the air was so unnatural, and so it almost like time had been, suspended, because in my brain I was hoping I was getting closer to it, but we weren't getting closer to it. It seemed like we were driving fairly fast. It was moving fairly fast, but it wasn't getting any closer, and so it kind of like challenged certain preconceived understandings of reality to me. And I still to this day find it very, very, very uncomfortable to talk about it. Almost
Like in mixed company, like you just don't know how it's going to be received.
no, I don't care about that so much. It's just that it was just such a unusual experience, and being as old as I am, and I've had a lot of unusual experiences, but nothing as
That happens. That happens in special education, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Absolutely. And that's a beautiful thing. But they're the human experiences, though.
Right.
And I'm not too sure. I just can't find that in my brain the compatibility with a human experience I've had. And so it was, it's unidentified. It definitely was flying. And it was just, even to this day, I have some kind of very uncomfortable feelings in my body as I'm trying to recreate that moment with Mark. And it was beyond bizarre. It definitely was an encounter of what kind. I can't put my finger on it. But Mark and I are highly educated individuals. We were both in college at the time, and so I would love to be able to rectify it in my skull on what the heck just really what we experienced, and I don't know if I will be able to do that, and that's okay.
Sure.
But it just the way the lights move, the intensity of the lights, the reaction of the vehicle, the mechanic. And I do remember the thing that I remember most is the radio had started up first, and I thought that was good. I can't remember the song, but they just bizarre land. And if it wasn't for Mark sitting next to me, I would have thought I was losing my brain at the time. But we experienced this together, and so and we have never talked about it since then. I don't think, have we, Mark?
I'm going to have to say not anything even close to what we're talking about now. I mean, the only time
I find that kind of bizarre in and of itself.
Yeah, really. Because I can remember we were playing basketball on the basketball thing way back when, when we were
in married housing, yeah.
And we just kind of made something just in passing a comment. Playing basketball was, can you believe what we saw? That was about all that I can remember as far as is anything like this. Although I do find this conversation about an encounter like this where other people have said that they've seen this thing or have an encounter that's close to what we saw. There's been many times where there's always been an invitation to jump in on that discussion. I don't want to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? it's I'll maybe acknowledge the fact that we did have an encounter, but I'm not going to. This is really the first time that I can remember that we've actually went and described what we saw in such detail to, you know, dream my daughter for, you know, for God's
Breaking up.
sake.
But to say, I guess I'll just fill the space if you guys can hear me. There's 2 to 4 billion stars. That's just suns, just sun, just a sun, in our observable space. So to assume that we are the only intelligent life form, and how intelligent is that, if that's what you think? I mean, it's just, that's incredibly egotistical.
Right and wrong, what's actually happened, you know?
Oh, he's back. Maybe. You're breaking up a lot, Dad.
Is he frozen?
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Well, the cutting in and out is really awful, you know?
I got some input for you when you're ready.
Go ahead. I don't know what's going on with Bob. Bob, are you okay?
I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You're just holding really still.
But, you know, Robert has.
He hasn't stopped talking.
I heard that.
Dad, you're breaking up. Go ahead, Dreama. Dad, we'll come back to that. Let's get your.
I'm going to wait.
Robert has an encounter.
Oh, God. I think Dreama wanted to interject something, Dad. Let's give Dreama a chance, okay? And then we definitely want to get to that, because I think that would be cool for people to hear. Go ahead, Dreama.
Oh, okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm breaking up.
Yeah, what was really coming to me very strongly during the whole story of what happened is the fact that a lot of these encounters happen over the ley lines, and how powerful ley lines really are. I do have a map, that's what I was looking for, of the ley lines in Michigan and how they crisscross in different places, and you will see a lot of supernatural activity along those ley lines.
Can you send it to me?
They tend
and I
to be
can
like,
put it up?
I couldn't find it, doggone it. I was looking on my phone. I was like,
Okay.
Where is that? That's what I was looking for. So I wanted to send it to you, and I thought you could put it up because
it
shows how they crisscross. I can continue to look here a second. I looked really briefly, couldn't find it, but where they meet are power centers, and that's why the car went dead. Those energies are very powerful, and they're drawing. They have to have a place of conduit to draw energy to land or come into that space. That's what I believe. As for my own personal experiences with other entities and energies, it's all about energy. It's all about vibratory energy, because everything in the universe vibrates at a certain level. So, what do you say?
I got one
bar
Wi-Fi here.
Okay.
Yeah, we can tell.
Yep. Well,
it was doing good. Tell Therese to get off her phone.
Yeah. So that was what really kept coming to me, was of looking at the ley lines, and that's going to have a lot to do. I hear so much activity up north, honestly, up north Michigan, because of those ley lines that crisscross up there that are really very powerful. There is supposed to be another one over toward Ludington, a huge ley line that crosses. So I would be curious to know about people in Ludington, if they have experiences.
Yes, they do.
Huge supernatural, unexplained things in the sky, you know. I used to be a total skeptic, didn't believe in any of it until I had my own personal encounters with energetic beings. So that was what I wanted to contribute about the ley lines.
Yeah.
If I could find that map.
And if you look at,
I truly appreciate that. I really, oh yeah.
We know.
And Shannon, I your comment, you know, I'm a man of probabilities, and I truly, you know, used to do a lot of consulting with schools on probabilities of bad things happening. And
that's fun.
No, really, it was, you know, it was about safety.
Right,
and
yeah.
you can't totally eliminate the probability, but you can reduce the probability of bad stuff happening.
Right.
Mhm.
And so just that statement that you made, we certainly need to welcome that in our discussion, because the probability for us as an entity, for us not to believe there's other quote unquote other entities out there in space is a little bit arrogant.
Yes, I agree.
And so I'm not going to argue that comment. But
Yeah, and
again, I'm a skeptical son of a gun. And am I open to the what ifs? Heck yes.
And if they're coming here, then we're probably not the king of the hill in the galaxy for intelligence. I'm just saying.
Well, certainly this country not. Absolutely. You're talking this country, yeah, for sure.
So, but I also have heard, if you have ever listened to Bob Lazar, that I don't believe there's more than one that is coming, visiting, actually maybe are currently here, because from what he's reported, the energy centers are actually like an anti-gravity. So there might be maybe different technology used by different visitors. Who knows, So
Right, that's true.
yeah, I don't know that we're, and even to think that, I think it's even a stretch to say, well, there's only one group of, entities or aliens or whatever you want to call them coming to visit, because there's still 2 to 4 billion planets or stars that we can see. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so if you're gonna go that far, maybe I need to put my tinfoil hat on.
Hey, I went to a expo one time. I walked in and this lady was there, and she was actually introducing herself. She said, "I'm not from this planet. I'm from this planet." She was like giving people. She was like doing a what would you call it? Like a
Speech,
speech, yeah,
presentation.
a presentation, yes, in front of everybody, talking about the planet she really came from. She said, "I'm not from this planet. I'm from this planet at this part, how far away it is." And she was giving details. And I sat there and I thought, okay, wow, this is unusual that somebody would be so,
Mhm.
right out there
Right.
with it. I mean, you're afraid the Inquirer is going to come and take you away. I don't know.
I mean, that's legit news.
Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna proclaim you're not from this planet, and you're an extraterrestrial and you don't belong here, okay, But it was very interesting, and I mean, I always try and stay open because of the experience. Like you said, life gives you experiences. What can you deny that? You can talk somebody out of a theory, but you can never talk somebody out of an experience.
That's beautifully well stated. Absolutely.
And so when you have that experience, it's like in your consciousness. You cannot eliminate it. So
Well, you can if you're pliable. If you have a
Yes.
pliable psyche, you can. But right. But I mean, if you're, centered, grounded individual that's
yeah.
had an experience that,
Now I do
then
believe you
yeah.
can take, if you have a negative experience in your psyche, you can go back, and which I do with clients, you can go back and heal that, cleanse it, clear it, and come in and change that memory and make it into what you really want it to be. Which
From you change your perspective
yes,
of the
yeah.
experience.
What
Yes.
is it like? Change that we always talk about, like changing the past. Like people will say, "I can't change the past." Well, yeah, you can. We can
Well, it's
change-
it's a reframing.
yeah, it's a reframing of what happened and changing the brain of how it wires and fires to it. Basically.
Yeah. Neural pathways.
Yep, exactly.
Neuroplasticity.
Yep.
Yay,
And
yeah.
I'm a student of psychology, and I've spent a lot of time dealing with mental health individuals in my career, psychotic and you name it. I've worked in institutions before, and I find it fascinating and very dark at times. But
Very.
Yes.
the human psyche is a very, very complicated entity.
It
And
is.
but again, Mark and I had a shared experience that I don't think since that time, we're talking since 1978, that I've ever talked about it at this depth before.
Wow.
And
Right.
that's a whole nother conversation at a different time that I need to have with myself. Why is that?
Yeah.
I think at first I got the sense that you guys were just really stunned and shocked. And then you had very busy lives with raising kids and going to school full time.
Right.
I guess I can see that, and I mean, look at your wives at the time. I mean, those ladies, they're a lot to handle.
They're movers and shakers. Movers and shakers. And and so even at the time I wasn't petrified. I didn't find it scary. I just found it just so beyond normal
Right.
that I didn't want to forget about it, but on the other hand, I didn't have anything in my memory bank to explain it away.
Right.
And so I find that to me a little bit, unsettling, but it is what it is. Maybe sometime I'll look into the spiritualness of it. If there's something going on there, somebody's spirit might. Who knows? I don't know, but
don't you think Dylan can help with that? Your middle child.
I'll have to. Sure. I mean, now that you mention it, I can definitely bring it up with him.
Yeah, because Native Americans indigenous people have a lot of creation stories, and particularly the Hopi is popping into my head.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's unique just to the Hopi.
Yeah, I'll have that conversation with him, probably within the next few days. And that takes me to another experience I had, and he was part of it. It was in Cairo, Michigan. And maybe I would say about 10 years after this incident here.
Okay.
With that. So if you can come up with a data on that, Chris is part of this experience and Dylan was part of this experience. We built a house out in the country outside of Cairo, and it was the backyard was property owned by the state of Michigan, so it was a state game area.
Okay.
And in the middle of the night, both Chris and I woke up, and we had this incredibly deep feeling in our chest. No sound, nothing. It was kind of like a vibration.
Okay.
And we both sat up. We both looked out. Our bedroom looked over the state game area, all woods. And there's incredibly, as intense bright light as you can possibly make, without any sound at all. And Dylan ran up, and I guess he was 16 at the time, and you see, I think he was kind of stumbling over his speech.
Wouldn't he have been? It must have been longer than that then, because was he born when the first one happened? So maybe it was 15 years. Is he a little bit older than Eric, my brother?
I think isn't Eric? I have to ask Chris. Is Eric older than Dylan? Yes.
Eric's 43.
So I think that's about the same age as Dylan. Dylan's 43.
Okay.
Yeah, there when Dylan was born and what time? Dylan was born like a few months after Eric, right?
Yeah, he was born in the summer.
Yeah. Dylan was born just after
Okay,
Eric.
so they're just a few months apart.
Yeah.
So the experience was no sound, bright lights, this incredibly intense vibrations in our bodies. What's that? And I got up, looked outside, and it got brighter and brighter and brighter. I actually ran downstairs to see what was going on. And at that point, the light disappeared. I immediately, again, my logic sense, being a building administrator and dealing with some crazy stuff, you go with trying to analyze it quickly and trying to justify what happened. And the state game area backs up to Cairo Regional Center, which is an institution. but it would be a long walk. And
Sure.
my first response was, did somebody escape from the institution? Did the police put a helicopter up there to try to find this person? Well, we didn't hear the sound of a helicopter. Helicopters are extremely loud, but that was where my logic was going, and so I immediately called the sheriff department.
Right.
And said, are you trying to find an escaped, inmate, resident? They're called residents from the institution. And also at the time, it was half an institution and also half a penitentiary.
Right. I was going to bring up something like that because,
Yeah,
very not well people are.
Yeah, correct. Yes. Very extremely violent individuals and extremely psychotic individuals. And so that was my first response. And so I immediately called the sheriff department and find out, are they looking for somebody? Because if so, I was going to get my family out of there.
Right.
But again, it didn't seem logical to me because there was no sound involved for it to be a helicopter. And the sheriff department said, absolutely not. And so the very next day I called my contact at the Carroll Regional Center and said, did you lose a patient, or did you lose, a resident, or somebody escape? And they said, no, nothing happened. And so that in of itself is because it was right in our bedroom, right in our space, right in the walls. And I found that to be, but for us to have felt it in our chest, was very beyond cerebral. It was very kinesthetic, it was a feel.
Right.
And, and the light was so incredibly intense that my whole yard, was like they would take a light from a big stadium and just like put it down there,
Wow.
Just, it was crazy. So it was in Carroll, Michigan, just maybe 3 miles outside of Carroll on M24.
Do you see the ley lines for Michigan?
Yeah.
Dreama just shared that with me. That's interesting. It looks like this green one goes right through Carroll or near.
No, it goes to the one that goes to the top of the thumb. I'm quite ways lower than that, but maybe about 30 miles though.
Yeah, I see the green and the red line.
The green and the red intersection one there, I don't, by, where Alpena is, that would be on the south side of the bay and inland a little bit. So, there's a lot going on for sure.
And Carroll was in the thumb. So you take your hand again, and there's a thumb on the picture there. So the experience we had was about probably 30 miles south of where it hits the top of the thumb.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So it wasn't really a long, a little bit higher than that. So about 30 miles. I used to work in the thumb, so I know the thumb, area pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I can ask Chris. She's here. Do you remember anything about that experience that I didn't discuss? The feeling. Chris says again, it was a feeling we had.
Sure, that makes sense. It really does.
It woke us both out of a sound sleep.
Right.
And it was just no sound. That was the thing I can't explain. No sound.
Right.
Just that feeling.
But you said Dylan saw it too, or
Dylan ran up to our bedroom and kind of stumbled over his words, and so I'll have a conversation with him about both of those, and
sure.
with his connection to his native ancestry. He might have some insights on this that I would really welcome.
Yeah, for sure. That would be a really interesting conversation.
And him being an academic that he is, I think you would find it very, very intriguing.
Yeah, and I believe that I like the medicine wheel depicts some of this wisdom.
Yeah.
You'll have to ask him. He would know that better than me.
Yeah. So you know a little bit about his history, about his specialty, about his path in life.
Well, I thought he was an artist. I know that he is. And then I sent him a message on Facebook, letting him know that our dads are going to be on podcast. Should be interesting. And I don't think he got it. I don't know. but I did let him know the other day. So yeah, so then I'm like, oh, I knew that he was doing something with indigenous cultures. I just didn't necessarily know what or which. So
Well, he's the director of the Michigan State University's Native Indian program.
okay.
He's been the director for 4 years now. And so he's got some academic street cred, shall we say?
Yeah.
And he's traveled the world with his artwork, primarily native cultures. And he's the very first, I was telling Mark a couple of days ago, he's the very first non-Canadian to get Métis citizenship.
Oh, wow.
Great.
Well, I mean, Michigan, kind of close enough. Anytime we traveled, I think we're from Canada anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
And so he's very entrenched, and he's been doing a lot of studies, I think the last 4 or 5 years on native plants.
Oh, nice.
And how they can help us in certain capacities.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he's very, very entrenched in especially the Métis population in Ontario.
Okay.
And so yeah, I mean, this is going to really dovetail in beautifully with some of his possibly research, and he might add some clarity to this, to both these experiences, especially the second one, seeing he was in a very serious car accident a few years after that. So it'll be interesting to find out if he has memory of that experience.
Yeah. And my dad and I, doing genealogy work, learned that, and we talked about it on the last Friday, that our Norwegian side is Sami. So that's incredibly interesting to learn the connections. And I've seen a couple older articles about the relationship or some overlap, and I mean, anyway, of the Anishinaabe.
Right? Very, very well. Dylan can speak it very fluently.
Oh, wow.
You can speak that language quite fluently. Absolutely. Yes.
What's interesting, if I may interject, what's very interesting.
I'm going to fix my lighting.
What are you doing?
She said she was fixing her lighting.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's very interesting that I find is that after talking with Robert this last week, is that our family, in Shannon, of course, our family is 50-50 family. Our mix is, my father was Norwegian, Scandinavian, and my mother was 100% Scot. Okay. And what I find interesting in our discussions here that I guess realized this last week with Bob is actually my family origins from my mother's side is in the same area that he's from. Okay. Over in Ontario. So when we were talking about some of the locations of Ontario, with the indigenous people, and where our family, the Scottish regiment of the British Army that our grandfather came over with, is in that location. And so I find it interesting that there's a lot of, I guess they call it a small world, but
so there's a lot of connections there. Yeah, Mark and I talked for well over an hour and a half.
Similar.
And we talked about that issue, Shannon, that you discovered about the Sami. Dylan has actually been to northern Norway, I believe, 2 times. They brought him there as a resident artist. And I do believe he worked with the native people way up there on the Arctic Circle.
Yes, it's like past the meridian. It's the Finnish and Sweden and Norway. It's like their own nation.
So him being entrenched with the native cultures, in northern Canada, I think he's got some connections with the Sami organization in Norway.
Oh, nice.
And so it'll be interesting to further this conversation and finding out where there's connections there. Were there any kind of similarities between Mark's experiences and my experiences on that, wintry 1978. I mean, who knows? I don't know. But just the fact that my son has been to Norway multiple times and has
Sure.
done some of his artwork with those indigenous groups, you never know where that will take us.
That could be very interesting to see that happen and
Yeah.
unfold.
Yeah.
And I talked about it on our last podcast, so I don't want to completely go over it. But okay, in short, I'll try to do this really short and sweet. So my dad's third great grandfather, so my fourth, was the last man to be publicly executed by beheading in Oslo. He had murdered his wife and wanted to apparently be with his mistress, who would be our relation. And the woman that eventually we just crossed paths is descendant from Peter Olson was his name. The wife that he murdered. She's descendant from them. We're descendant from the mistress. So talk about ancestral karma healing, healing so big time. But Dad and I talk to her regularly, share Christmas presents.
Oh, you do? Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's very cool. Her name's Ellen. So she sent us brown cheese this year for Christmas. It was so good. You wouldn't think so, but it is. It's delicious.
Any cheese is good. Brown might be even more interesting.
Well, except maybe Limburger.
Is that with a glass of Merlot or not?
Oh, I think my dad ate the whole brick. I don't know. He may have been stopped up for a while.
It was that good, Mark, huh? Nice.
Yeah, I didn't feel bad about it either.
He's funny. So it's delicious. But I also wanted to share something. One of my friends, my friend sent this funny. He's big into memes, and he was a person that when we first started was driving through Grayling and messaged us. But let me share it.
Hey, Robert,
Well, I'm not familiar with superheroes. Who is that? What superhero was
can you
that?
hear me, Robert?
I don't know. I just thought it was hilarious. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so gonna share that with Bob. He's gonna love
That's
it.
pretty good. I like the fro. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think yours was more here from what I remember. Like even now in my memory
Yes.
banks, I'm looking at
Very
you going,
long hair, correct. Yes.
you're missing this beard.
Yes. It was almost a Osama bin Laden beard. I hate to say it, but he stole the concept from me.
Hey, Robert.
Okay.
But yeah, that's great. Yes, Mark.
Tune in here. Just here.
Oh,
So they wanted
Jerry. Hi,
us to
Jane.
hi, Sinkles. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, maybe in
I hope you guys get your roof back.
the next what I
So,
did.
Shannon, this is a beautiful thing because I was really reluctant to even delve into it. And so I'm thankful and very grateful that I have, because I got to connect with you and I got to connect with Mark and I got to go back in my memory on this very significantly strange moment, but then to recreate the other strange moment and then connecting my son to that other strange moment is going to be fascinating. What that conversation is going to be between the three of us, because Chris was there too.
Oh yeah, that would be lovely.
And try to see if there's any kind of semblance of making out what does it mean, and it might not mean anything.
Yeah, maybe it
Well,
might
my
unfold all kinds of things.
My second encounter wasn't as dramatic as you had, Robert. That's for sure. But it did happen, and but I saw the same similar light. It was out in the middle of Lake Huron, and it was interesting because there's one thing I do have to tell you that happened in the second encounter that I realized this happened is when I saw the light again, compass on the boat went out of its mind.
Oh,
The
sure.
compass was just swirling. Uh,
Yeah. Well, that might
so
be the
there was an
anti-gravity.
energy field there that was, you know, quite evident. So, and that was in the middle of Lake Huron. I mean, I was like 15 miles east of gate what do you call it? What's yeah, it's Osaka, and probably I'm in probably about 50, 60 miles north of Port Huron. I was way out there, and I had other people with me. We were transporting them,
Hmm.
and they were actually dying because it was in the middle of the night sleeping. But I heard the noise, and it sounds like power, like vibration and power. And lady up, K2E up, came out, and she goes on. I said, "Well, it's like my friends are convinced." She goes, "Okay, well, just tell myself." It was that identical to what we, yeah, in Grayling, although it was out in the
Hmm.
lake. And
So
we had
that brings me to Dreama's experiences have been a little bit more personal, maybe.
Yeah.
They weren't at a distance. And so I wanted to give her an opportunity to jump in and maybe even bring some validation and clarity to what you guys experienced.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Dreama.
my experience is a little different. Like I said, I was never a real not believer, but sort of like people would talk about their experiences and seeing crafts and different things, and I would be like, okay, yeah, that was just an airplane in the dark. Now, come on. But
Hmm.
anyway, then as I moved in on my own personal path of expansion in the last um, 10, 12 years of more moving into more of a what I do as a spirit messenger and do shamanic healing work, connecting to energies and such. So I had an experience. I do believe I wrote about it. I blogged about it because it was so profound to me, where I actually encountered these beings. I was in a lot of pain. I broke my back in 2007. And so when the weather would get really icky and cold, my back would just ache in that split, place where it broke.
Right.
The fracture happened. And so I went to get warm in the tanning bed. That's what I do. I just warm up in there, and it helps my bones. It feels really good. So I went down, got in the bed. I'm laying there, just sort of just chilling. And a lot of times I use that with meditation music just to relax. And I seen out of the corner of my eye, I'm laying there, and I see these two white light beings approaching me. And I said, "Who are you?" I mean, uh, and they said, well, the one being spoke to me, the other one did not. The first one said, we are the pain pullers. That's what I heard. We are the pain pullers, and we're going to pull your pain out. And so I lay there and I watched as this etheric cord went from me, and they pulled this cord until the pain was released. I got up, I had no pain, none, literally. It was amazing. And I could not dismiss this experience. Like I said, you could try and talk me out of something I thought about, but this was something I absolutely experienced, and the pain was gone. I got up from that place, and it was gone for a long time. I mean, days. I never had any pain. I don't think I've had pain since then in that same way. You know what I mean? So then it was really cool. I went on to, I'm connected to a page of Dr. Joe Dispenza's.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, go
If you
ahead.
ever get into reading Dr. Joe Dispenza's material. So I'm on his personal page, and I was reading through some experiences they were having at their conferences. He will have these huge conferences, people get together, and it's basically there for you to rewire the way you think. And he helps you do that through meditation, through changing the frequencies. So they're there in their space, and they do meditation. I've been to one of their conferences a couple years ago. My husband and I went. It was amazing. Um, And people were validating and posting on there about their experiences with light beings that would come and take the pain out of their body. And
Wow.
I was like, holy moly, this is no bullshit Friday, and I am not bullshitting you. And this is the truth. These people were having the same experience. It absolutely validated for me the experience that I had with the pain pullers. And that's what they called themselves there. They were, I mean, there was the repeated people saying, I had this experience with these white light beings that showed up and they were pulling things out of my body and I received healing. So I have not had that experience with them again. Since that, I have had experiences with blue light beings, which were healers, which came
And
to bring me healing.
Joe Dispenza talks a lot more. Well, I've heard him talk about
about the light beings. Yeah. And
which
it was so cool.
makes sense when you think about Hinduism and Buddhism. We've got the blue Buddha and we've got Shiva, who's blue, and they're known for healing. The blue Buddha is the medicine Buddha. Like,
yeah,
they've been coming around for a while. This isn't new.
No, that's right. And so that was my personal experience. They're not, I wouldn't call them extraterrestrials. I would call them.
Look at the light being behind Bob. Look at that.
Light beings. I know.
Oh,
I know.
It totally just switched. Like the rays of the sun are coming in. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know. As I was watching,
in Michigan, that's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Light goes down, light goes up. I'm like, wow, that's cool. But yeah, that was my my personal experience with the white lighters, I call them. And I always invite them whenever I work with other people to help bring healing to people, as well as, move energy. But so that's it. That was my experience. So
I would say that's it. That sounds pretty profound from my perspective. I bet you when you got to read about others that had the same similar experience, I bet you that kind of you found that fairly comforting.
Oh, it was very validating, very validating.
Because if it wasn't for Mark here right now, he and I going down memory lane, not hand in hand, mind you, but going down memory lane, who knows? I probably would never have thought about that shared experience ever again. And same thing with that experience that I had with Chris and my son. We probably would never have had that conversation again. And so I think this moment in time is a wonderful thing, that it kind of helps us navigate what tomorrow is going to bring us, because I like to have a little more clarity on what tomorrow is going to be. I love the unknown and what tomorrow, because that's kind of exciting. On the other hand, too, I like to have a little bit of stability in my life.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can share experiences with others, it just kind of puts a little bit of stability in your psyche. At least it does in my psyche.
Yes. Yeah. It grounds you.
Having this, being able to encourage me to have some conversations with my son and my partner, my wife here, kind of look. I'm looking forward to that, because we all see life in our own set of eyes, and sometimes you process things a little bit differently. And that's just the way life is. And that's the beauty of it. So, during this COVID situation, I really think that this moment in time this morning has really kind of highlighted to me that we need to do everything we can to stay connected.
Absolutely. Definitely. I wanted to bring up, that's a super big point. A good one that I want to make sure everybody takes a little moment of meditation on that, because that's really important. As a collective group, I mean, we are humans, and we have those needs. We're a community. But I wanted to bring up Dr. Greer, Stephen Greer, mainly for your discussion with Dylan. He's a scientist. Yeah, I can send you information too. I believe he does a lot of like in welcoming, like a collective meditation type things, and they're oftentimes near reservations, I believe. Mm-hmm. Greer, Greer, Stephen with a V.
Okay.
Like on mountain ridges and things of that sort, to welcome encounters for the individuals participating, whether or not they have more personal ones like Dreama, I don't know, but he's pretty reputable. And then of course, Joe Dispenza,
Yeah.
he's pretty amazing too. I like his
Yeah.
work. In fact,
As you're talking, I'm trying to connect. I have in my great grandmother was a medicine woman for her tribe. And there's a historic museum in Ontario that has her medicine pouch.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
And Dylan's been
That's
kind
awesome.
of, I think, studying the properties of possible medicines that were used back in the day.
Yes.
And so I think there might be a certainly a cultural connection here.
Certainly.
with my ancestors.
Dreama's a medicine woman.
Yeah, that's
Actually.
amazing.
Yeah, that's what
And
she does.
so again, I'm not as into it and not as
I got to let the dog out. Be right back.
Okay.
I'm not as into it as my son, but again, he's the academic, and I trust everything that he brings to me has been certainly validated and confirmed, and so that he's a nice filter of stuff, and I appreciate that.
When you had mentioned that earlier about medicines, natural medicines and things that had been used historically, that was what reminded me to tell you about the Sami, because one of the things that is incredibly interesting is the use of medicines for your consciousness and your psyche, like the psilocybin mushrooms and that sort of thing, which would have been, I believe, or is it Atamita muscaria? It's the one that's in all the fairy tales with the red top and the white polka dots. I believe that it was also something that was used in Northern America as well, because the climates would be very similar. In enabling those to grow, especially in the areas of pine. They like to grow under the pine trees, and the reindeer like to eat them as well.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Dad told that story last Thanksgiving, and he fell himself. He laughed so hard he about fell himself out of the chair.
I did get a new book on. I'm part Cherokee, so I've been studying Cherokee medicine healing from the indigenous tribes of the Cherokee and this location, so you can get things from the location that you have, which will heal the body for this location, people in this location,
there's
like
a
getting
ton
honey.
of new research on mental health and how quote unquote LSD has done some remarkable potential healing properties of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I find that really fascinating, being a product of the 60s.
Oh,
yeah, you know who Ram Dass is, right?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah. Ram Dass, how he was a guru, who was he was a psychology professor, doctor out of Harvard, and was researching LSD and its effects on mental health. And I don't really know the whole story very well. There's plenty of YouTube videos that talk about it, but basically they're like, say no to drugs or whatever. That would have been 80s, but and for whatever reason he took off to India and found his guru and came back Ram Dass.
Yeah. There's a great movie on TV about it.
With Dr. Timothy Leary then?
I don't know. I know that
Leary came out of Harvard too, I believe.
I think I've heard
I'll
that
look it
name.
up. You guys keep talking.
Seems very connected because I've heard that name, but there is a really great movie about Ram Dass. I think it might be on Prime, but it tells his whole life story. It's really good and very interesting.
Oh, I'm getting a search here. Let's see. Yeah, they are connected.
I thought so.
Dr. Timothy Leary and this guy, yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't surprise me.
Hold on a second. I think the dog's back.
Yep. Yeah, Ram Dass, obviously that's not his real name. Yeah. But they were, researching psychedelics in the 60s and
Yeah. Well, I haven't had breath. So my stomach is telling me I better eat.
Oh, I know that. Yes, me too. I'm doing the same. So I look forward to talking to you again, Bob, and hopefully Dylan and his expertise. And
Yeah.
thank you so much. It was a great
Thank you for
Yes.
connecting me with Mark and this shared experience, and actually having me connect with my son and Chris on our shared experience and find out if there's anything that he can have clarity on. I don't know.
Yeah, how I thought of it was Dad, I think it was brought up last podcast, and then I remembered him telling me the story. This is months ago. I mean, maybe even a year ago.
Right.
And I was laughing so hard. I messaged Chris mid-story.
Correct. Yep.
And said, "You're not going to believe what my dad's telling me right now." And then she goes, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Oh, he's not just telling me fish stories."
No, it happened. Yes. And I don't know, I would like to say it altered my life. It really hasn't. But other than the fact that I'm curious about better understanding of what possibly, and I want to thank your guest here to shed some light on that, because I'm going to look into that a little further.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
It
insight.
was wonderful meeting you all. And,
Yes.
Well, I know you all, but anyway, wonderful meeting you all.
Good talking to you, Mark.
I think he's pretending to be a mannequin.
Oh, got it. Okay. Thanks, Shannon. Good seeing you.
Pros. Good seeing you too. Have a great day.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
the
Have a great
opportunity.
day. Blessings. Namaste.
Bye.